So continuing on with Dermpath, I think this is a slide that we saw last time. So I got to power through here in about 5 minutes or less. And so what you're seeing here immediately is this brisk inflammation, lichenoid lymphocytic infiltration. It's lymphocytes, you can tell because they're small blue cells. Lichenoid meaning it's disrupting the dermal epidermal junction. So lichenoid lymphocytic infiltration. And at low power, you can see it causes this kind of V-shaped kind of infiltration or V-shaped change to the epidermis due to the infiltration that is going in. And so this is lichen planus. This is another slide of pretty much the same thing. You get this lichenoid lymphocytic infiltrate. Zooming in here, you can see it's disrupting the dermal epidermal junction. I kind of clipped this for myself back in the day to show a single eosinophil here. So with the lichenoid lymphocytic infiltrate with the eosinophil, what I was trying to feed myself at the time was lichenoid drug eruption. Note that the percentage of eosinophils doesn't really vary between these, so it's not really a reliable histopathologic differentiator, but it's often mentioned for boards purposes. This is the same exact thing. Lichenoid lymphocytic infiltrate, you can see it's disrupting the dermal epidermal junction. You can see dead keratinocytes even falling here into the dermis. What's different about this is you can see that this is a lesion. This is a papule rather than the rash, because flanking this on both sides is completely normal epidermis to the right and then to the left. So it's a lichenoid lymphocytic infiltrate, so it's like lichen planus, but it's one lesion. Here's just a zoomed in picture showing, again, lichenoid lymphocytic infiltration, dead keratinocytes, some pigment incontinence. And so this is a BLK, or benign lichenoid keratosis, or lichen planus-like keratosis. A lot of names for it. Here's another side showing lichenoid lymphocytic infiltrate, some extension down to the hair follicle. Here again, you see dermal epidermal damage, and this combination is consistent with GVHD. So what's unique about here is it's, again, an interface dermatitis. What they'll feed you, though, for boards purposes is that if there's prominent dyskeratosis, so dead keratinocytes, an extension of that down a hair follicle, which you can see it's extending down here, they're trying to feed you GVHD. Here's another slide, a punch down to deep reticular dermis. You can see there's some action here. Same thing, so you're seeing interface damage here. Now it's more vacuolar rather than lichenoid. So you don't have a brisk band of lymphocytes, you have scattered lymphocytes, and you can see it's causing vacuolization at the basal layer. The other thing that you can see here is that the collagen in the basement membrane is thickened. So vacuolar interface dermatitis with thickened basement membrane is feeding you lupus. Here is kind of a 1-second diagnosis of the red, white, and blue. You get compact ortho hyperkeratosis. You get atrophy of the epidermis with some mild vacuolar change, hyalinization of the dermis, and then a brisk underlying lymphocytic infiltrate. Red, white, and blue, this is lichen sclerosis, or LSNA. Here again becomes a 1-second diagnosis. You see this mound of 45-degree parakeratosis overlying an area where you have dyskeratotic keratinocytes, and so this is a cornoid lamella consistent with porokeratosis. This is a cool one I kind of just clipped in there back in the day, probably low yield for boards purposes, but it's a slide where you'll see multiple cornoid lamellae. So we had seen one cornoid lamella in the last slide. Here you see there's acanthosis, hyperkeratosis, but you have a cornoid lamella, here, 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 here. You have multiple of them coalescing, and this is actually consistent with a special type of porokeratosis called porokeratosis cyclotropica. What might be decent yield for boards purposes is that this can present with a papillosquamous eruption on the buttocks. Here's another side. Can't really tell what's happening except there's a ton of lymphocytic infiltration. Then if your eyes glance up to the epidermis, you can see that there's tons of epidermotropism of atypical lymphocytes. So this is actually mycosis fungoides. Let's just zoom in. A lot happening in this slide. So tons of vacuolar interface dermatitis with damage, extravasated red blood cells at the DEJ extending up into the epidermis. So this is a differential, but what they're trying to feed you here is if you see real blurring of the DEJ with a lot of inflammation, kind of V-shaped to the epidermis, and then extravasated blood cells, it's in the pityriasis lichenoides spectrum. Pleva, if it's more acute like this, with tons of inflammation and blood. And then PLC, if it looks a little bit more chronic like this. So you still see a lot of vacuolization, extravasated reds, some parakeratosis, compact parakeratosis, and this is better for PLC. This is superficial and deep perivascular lymphocytic infiltrate around the blood vessels, and then over here you see around the endocrine glands. And so this is pretty good for just regular old lupus. Here you see papillary dermal edema with lymphocytes. It's consistent with PMLE or Pernio. And then I'm out of time for this video, so I hope you like this video, and we will come out with future ones moving forward.